Okay folks, so right now we are going to start the video how-to for the Hogwarts Tie zip bag in 5x7. And just like every in the hoop project, you start by hooping some medium weight cutaway. I'm going to throw this in and run color stop 1. Back in a minute. Alright, so we're working on the Hogwarts Tie zip bag. We've run color stop 1, which is a duckwing blue, but it's not. I used black thread because what we're going to do now is we're going to take approximately 3 inches of gross grain ribbon. I'm going to use a lobster claw. You can use a D-ring. And we are going to position it so that about a ½ inch of the ribbon, after we folded it over, about a ½ inch of the ribbon is on the inside of the bag. And the rest, as well as the lobster claw, is on the outside of the bag. Then we are going to secure this in place with a little bit of tape, because you guys know how much I love my tape. And we're also going to secure that lobster claw because you know I don't trust metal around my machine. There we go, so it's not going to bounce up. We're going to put it back in the machine and we are going to run color stop 2, which is going to give us the bag outline and the positioning stitch for the zipper. Back in a minute. And so we're back, and let's take a look at this bag. So I have done the tack down stitch for the ribbon and lobster claw assembly. I'm going to pull up my tape so that this tape does not get fully sewn into my bag. And I also have a die line for my zipper. So you're going to need a plastic or nylon or coil tooth zipper. And you're going to line this up so that this little metal piece right here is far outside the bag, and ditto the zipper head. And you want to line it up so that it's between those two die lines, just like that. There we go. And then those of you who've watched a couple of these know what's next. What's next? Tape. We're going to tape that puppy down so that when it goes into the machine, it does not jerk around and move and become misaligned. Okay. We're nice and straight. We're good. There we go. I'm also, because remember, I hate metal near my machine, gonna tape down that zipper head so that it doesn't pop into the way. Gonna throw this in the machine and it's gonna tack that down, and I'll show you what's next in just a minute. Cheerio and what. So we have gone ahead and tacked down our zipper nice and tight. It's time to lay our first vinyl, and since this is to mimic the robe, collar, and tie of a Hogwarts uniform, this piece of vinyl and this piece of vinyl is going to be white. So you'll need a piece of vinyl for the top, 1 inch wide and approximately 7 3/4 inches long. Okay, and we're gonna nice and neat tape that down in just a minute. But you'll also notice that the V of the shirt comes down into the rest of the bag. Well, I'm not going to make you cut a perfect V and figure out where it goes and whatever. The easiest way to do this is to cut a piece of vinyl 4 3/4 inch high by 7 3/4 inch wide. Then once the tack downs are done, trim to size. All right, so I'm going to put all of that down. I know. And then trim when we're done. So I make sure that I'm bucked right up against my zipper, okay, and that there's no metal intruding anywhere into my stitch path. Make sure that everything's laying nice and flat. I tape the bottom to the top, okay, and then if you are super anxious, you can put some securing tape on your pieces of vinyl to make sure they don't shift while it's doing that tack down stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and run color stop 4 to tack that down. And then I'm going to run color stop 5 to give me my cutting die line for the white. Back in a minute. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we have now run color stop number 4, and I ran it in black. And what we want to do is we want to applique trim this vinyl in a V. Okay, so I'm going to tear up my little piece of tape. Boom. And these little scrappies right here are going to be excellent whenever I decide to do some fobs or anything else that's going to take a smaller piece. But if you are super tight on your vinyl and you don't want to have scrappies like this, you can always run that tack down or the die line first, cut your piece of vinyl to fit, and then run your tack down. Okay? The next step that we're going to run is going to be the tack down for the black robe. So I'm going to cut another piece of black vinyl, and it's going to need to be a rectangle. And I'm going to lay it over this and tack it down, and then come back and show you how to trim out this V. Back in a minute. Okay, so folks, we are done with the black overlay on our Hogwarts Tie zip bag. You'll notice when I put that black vinyl down, I went ahead and taped the top of it to keep it from moving around. Now, this step, we have to cut that applique out. Okay, leave this in place. That's the robe. So we're going to slide carefully our duck bill applique scissors right next to that stitch line, and we're going to carefully cut that V right there. Okay, and then we're going to come back up and cut right there. Now, do not panic if your V is not perfect, because we've got another overlay right here that's going to be the burgundy, except in my case it's going to be red because I did not order burgundy. It's going to be the red tie and collar. So now we're going to put it back in the machine, and we are going to sew color stop 7. That'll give us a die line for where the tie goes. Back in a minute. Okay, folks, so we are ready. We have run step number 8, which is the die line for the tie. You'll need a piece of vinyl that's approximately 2.5 inches by like 4 inches. I went to my scrappy bin, and I've got a way bigger piece than is necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and use it rather than cut it down. And I'm going to float it right over the tie. And just in case you're paranoid, you're going to line up that top edge with the white, and I'm going to tack it down lightly with some tape. Okay, and then I'm going to pop it back in the machine and run the tack down stitch and then trim it out. Back in a minute. Hey folks, we're doing the Hogwarts Tie Gryffindor house zip bag, and we've done our tack down on the red. And again, if I had planned this better, I would have had burgundy, but for those who are purists, you'll just have to deal. I'm going to take up my tape, and I am only going to trim the sides and the bottom on this. I'm going to leave this top piece up there, okay? So I am going to actually approach from the center. And trim. Come down here. Ooh, that's the wrong side. We're going to come over here because we want to keep that flat of the duck bill laying on your stitches. So we need to trim this way to make sure we get that nice, close, tight trim. Okay, and you can come down here. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go back up there. All right, now we're going to put this bad boy back on the machine. I'm going to put him back on the machine, and we are going to run Color Stop 10, which is going to be the gold trim on the tie and the crest down on the robe. We're going to run number 11, which is a black outline on the tie. We're going to run number 12, which is going to be the collar die line. So we'll be back after 10, 11, and 12 to show you how to do the collar applique. Back in a minute. Okay, my lovelies. So on the Hogwarts tie zip bag, we have done stitches 10, which is the gold details, 11, which is the tie outline, 12, which is the die line for the color. Okay, so you want to lay down a piece of burgundy, and I'm using red, vinyl that covers this entire die line. And you want to line it up with the red, white, and black that's already on there. And if you so choose, you can go ahead and throw down a little bit of tape to hold it exactly in place. You're going to pop this bad boy back into the machine, and you are going to run 13. Then you're going to take it out, and you're going to applique cut. So we'll be back in a minute. Okie dokie pokies, we have now completed the tack down for the collar on the Hogwarts tie zip bag. Woohoo! So now what we have to do is we have to go in and trim, okay? And again, just like last time, I'm not going to trim this very top. Okay, we're going to come down here. And remember, if you get the right angle on your scissors, you don't have to hack and saw. You can just run your scissors along. Okay, turn your hoop. Okay, and come down here. I'm gonna get started. Okay, I did not get that as close as I would like it. There we go, that's much better. All right, now we're gonna do the inside. Okay, gonna turn right there. Gonna run my scissors down. I'm gonna get a little bit of resistance when I hit that satin stitch on the tie. That's okay, I'll lift up just a little bit. I'm gonna turn, gonna start, and remember I'm gonna hit a little bit of resistance right there. Just need to twist my scissors a little bit. Come back and go, woo! There we go. All right, now I'm gonna put it back in the machine, and I am going to run the Color Stop 14, which is gonna satin stitch the collar. All right, and I know me, I am probably going to mess this up royally, trying to be perfect. No, I am perfect. Woohoo! Lucky me. All right, so we're gonna run Color Step 14, and then we will be back for 15, which is that half felt cover back to hide all of this in the bag. So be back in just a minute. All right, so tie a zip bag, yay. We are now to step 15. This is where my bags diverge a little bit. Your front should look something like this. All right, we've already gotten the satin stitches around the collar. All of the design work is completely done. So we're gonna flip this bad boy over, and we are going to attach a piece of black felt to the back. Okay, so that when we finish our bag, this is going to be tacked to the back of the front so that all of this stitchery is not inside the bag. So when you reach your hand in the bag, you're not catching threads. So I am going to trim some of these little jumps and tails that might be sticking out just a little bit. I'm going to make it all nice and clean. There we go. Ew, look at all of those. Okay, we're gonna hide those. All right, we're gonna put our felt on. We wanna make sure that our felt is lined up with the top of the zipper. We'll trim it down to the bottom of the zipper in a little bit. We wanna make sure we're covering all of the back of the hoop. There we go. Okay, all lined up. You don't need a hella lot of tape for this. You can tape it at the top, and you can tape it at the bottom. Okay, and this is going to run a line all the way around, and I'm going to do it in white since the white is the predominant at the top. Back in a minute. All right, Hogwarts Tie zip bag. You'll note that we've got this white line. Do not panic. Once we attach the back and then turn it, this will be hidden. Okay, so what we need to do now is we are starting to work on color stop 16. So we are going to carefully flip over our bag, remove this tape, and we are going to trim some of our felt away to make it easier for these next couple of steps. So I'm going to trim the left. I'm going to trim the top. And this is where you want to make sure that you got a nice, pretty straight line. And then I'm going to trim down this side because we are about to stitch the zipper stops. So we are going to open our zipper, and you want to be about an inch and a half away, inch and a half away from the far right-hand side, okay? Now the problem is once that zipper opens, your needle head occasionally wants to catch the vinyl. So what I always do is I kind of put, and that means that you're going to be stitching right across tape, and I know that sucks, but you don't want your head to catch on this floppy vinyl. So we're going to put a little piece of tape, and then because I'm paranoid and I hate metal anywhere near my needle head, I am going to tape my zipper head down. All right, I'm going to throw it in the machine, and it's going to do a single stitch here. It's going to come down and do a single stitch line here, and come up and do a single stitch line here. The reason is because, again, my bags are different. We're going to tuck our ribbons under and make it look neater on the back side. Back in a minute. So we just finished those tack downs. Okay, I am going to trim my jumps like you do. Okay, then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pull that tape up slowly and carefully. The stitch line should perfect so that it's easier to come up. And I'm going to take a really good pair of scissors, and I am going to trim the ribbon away from the zipper on both the top and the bottom. Remember, I said this is where my bags are a little bit different because I'm a little bit different. Then I'm going to take a pair of crappy scissors, and I'm going to cut those. I'm going to leave the ribbons, but I'm going to cut the teeth out. And since I can't seem to find my crappy scissors, I'm going to violate so many rules and use my good ones. Then I'm going to lift the ribbons and the vinyl up, and as close to that stitch line as possible, I'm going to use my seam ripper and rip just a tiny little hole in the stabilizer only, so that I can tuck my ribbon tails under, just like that. We're going to flip it around, and we're going to repeat this same precision surgical operation on the other side. Carefully trim away the teeth from the ribbon. Teeth from the ribbon. All right, then cut the teeth and that metal thingy out, just like that. Lift it all up. Use your seam ripper to cut a little diagonal hole, or not diagonal, parallel hole. Stuff your tails in. Yay. We're gonna flip this bad boy over. Okay, I'm also gonna trim this Mamma Jamma Jump and this Mamma Jamma Jump. Yeah, there we go. We're gonna cross our tails, okay? So that they're nice and neat. And we're gonna take a piece of tape and we're gonna tape them down. We're gonna come over here, we're gonna cross our tails. We're gonna take a little piece of tape, we're gonna tape them down. We're gonna throw this bad boy back in the machine and it's going to tack these crossed ribbons down. It'll come down here and it'll go boom, boom to skip the zipper head, then back up here, boom. We'll come and trim this and then we'll be ready for the last step, which is putting on the back, which we're gonna do in the front. Huh. All right, good news, people. We are on the last step for the machine work on this zip bag, okay? So we have tacked down our tails. So we're gonna flip it over. We're gonna trim off these big jumps. We're gonna pull our tape and we are gonna trim these ribbons as close to the stitch line as possible, okay? No big. You got this. It's all good. We are also going to take our seam ripper and we are going to put a small start in the cutaway so that when we go to turn this bag, we haven't sewn the zipper on the inside and can't get at anything, because that would kind of really suck. We're going to go ahead and pull this jump as well. Our zipper head is taped out of the way. We have to fold our lobster claw to the inside. Okay, so that when we turn it, it's back on the outside. So we're going to take our scissors and we're going to carefully cut to just an nth from that stitch line. And we're going to trim it all the way up. Don't cut the stitch line. There we go. And we're going to fold this to the inside. And we're going to take, guess what? Tape, ha-ha, and tape it, oops. Tape that lobster claw or D-ring out of the way. There we go. And then we are going to take a piece of 6x8 black vinyl for the back. We're going to position it so that it's covering all of our stitch lines on the front. If you want, you can throw down a little tape. I am never going to tell you don't tape. Oh. 2 little pieces of tapey tape should hold that in place nicely. That's it. Put it back in the machine. You're going to run color stop 18. I'm going to run it in black. That's going to attach the back and the front. Do not do color stop 19. 19 is that dead stop to force your head way away from the middle of the bag so that it doesn't catch on the lobster claw or the zipper head. Back in a second. Okay, so on the Hogwarts Tie zip bag, we have attached the back. There is nothing left to do in the hoop, so we get to take it out of the hoop. Yay! Okay, we do have to trim this down. Now, I know a lot of people like to trim down with their scissors, and a lot of people hate to trim down with their scissors. So I trim down, except for curves, along the straight runs, I trim down with a roto cutter, which is just asking for a trip to the hospital. But we'll all have to live dangerously on this. So I line it up about somewhere between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch from the line. And take my roto cutter and carefully trim. Then I turn it and I carefully line it up about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch from the stitch line. And I carefully cut. You see where this is going, right, guys? Just repeat 4 times. 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch. Line it up nice and even. Ugh. Slow and careful so that I don't either cut my bag open, which would be tragic, or cut my hand open, which would be about par for the course. All right. Then I go back and with my scissors, I trim so that those corners are round, so that there's not too much bulk in the corners. Okay. Just like that. Now, remember we cut that little bit of opening? We've got to open the zip bag all the way up, and I'm going to take this opportunity to trim my cutaway as close to the zipper line as possible without cutting my zipper stitches. Okay, careful. This is where we want to go slow. We want to pay attention to what we're doing. A slip here could ruin the last 20 minutes of work. Voila. Now we're going to stick our hand in, and we're going to try and get that zipper a little more open. Okay. Now when I turn zip bags, I pick a corner, I put a finger in it, and I push to the inside, which magically becomes the outside. Woohoo! Okay. I'm going to remove my tape. I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to roll these corners out as well. Okay. Then I'm going to find my blunt instrument. I got this really fancy seam ripper that has a blunted end, and I'm going to stab my corners out a little bit. I'm going to come over here and stab my corner out a little bit. Come down here and stab my corner out a little bit. I'm in a stabby mood. What can I say? Stab that one out. Then I'm going to roll my seams. Roll my seams. Okay, oops, I've got a little whisper sticking out there. I'm going to trim that. Okay, got another little whisper sticking out there. I'm going to zip my bag closed. I'm going to roll this seam. Now you'll notice that this seam right here doesn't want to lay right. What I am probably going to do is I am going to take my ruler, and then I'm going to stack books on this overnight, and tomorrow morning when I wake up, that seam will be creased the way I want it. But there you guys go. The 5x7 Hogwarts Gryffindor tie bag. Hope the instructions were easy, and I hope you enjoy making these little guys, even though they have all those applique steps. Talk to you later.